All right, well, let's do it live.
You're listening to another Woodshop podcast, the okayest podcast of its type. Your hosts are Daniel Dunlap of Daniel Dunlap Woodworks, Peter Kapar of Petrie's Workshop, and Braden Boakes of Little Bud Woodworking. You can find them all and the podcast on your favorite social media channels.
Welcome to the live intro by Malcom of episode 230 of another Woodshop podcast, where in a world where wood doesn't just stick to other wood, one man stands alone with a bottle of glue, leading an ordinary life. But then he heard the call of the board. He learned that sometimes you got to break the rules to enforce them, and sometimes you got to cut the boards to glue them back together. From the creators of Gilmore Girls and Cutting Board Awareness Month, AWP presents Two Wits Don't Make a Right. Coming this summer to VHS, the true story of Malcom McCutcheon from Bossa Nova Woodworks. What's up, boys?
Oh, yes. That was amazing.
I don't have the voice. I just went with it. And was that okay?
You
Listen,
did great.
After your teenage years, you'll probably get the voice.
You'll
drop down an octave.
So I had a whole thing prepared, but I forgot that you were going to do the intro reading live, because I even had just epic ominous music to play in the background, but we just couldn't work it in. Like, I can't pause one, fade out, do the other one.
Rewind the podcast 5 minutes. Let's do this again.
Well, you know what else is epic and very nostalgic of the 90s?
And not too many button pushes, I might add. Mm-hmm. That would be our patrons.
There we go.
We have 2 new patrons, ladies and gentlemen. One, Mr. Alex Duffy joined the Man Army.
Hot.
I believe he was our guest last week.
Oh,
He was.
That's what happens when you're a guest. Next thing you know, your
It
patron.
was in his contract.
Yeah, he had to join.
No one told me about this.
JD Wong joined the Man Army.
Welcome.
Welcome to the family.
We have many tiers of the Man Army, and we always like to give shout outs to the VIPs, the generals of the Man Army, if you will. Starting off the lineup is Sexy Wood Daddy. That would be Alex Duffy, obviously.
Wait, is that actually his name on there?
That's what he put down. Sexy Wood Daddy.
Man,
he understood the
just
assignment.
Coming in strong.
Raoul Lipschitz over at Windy Acres Woodworks. I believe that's still Greg Bennett.
Oh, wow.
Damon from BWG Woodworking, Jeremy Claybaugh, Woodworking Well, that is Mike Elliott. CBAM RW, that is Alex Adams. That's
Remembrance Awareness Month,
yes.
Remembrance Week.
Yes.
John Herbolsheimer of Living Lath Woodworks, Jared LaPuma at LL Builds, Tyler Booth from Temecula Yard Games, Henry Lutens at Manfreda Wood, Charlie Coons from Stubby K Studio, Justin Frazier from Frazier Canyon Woodworks, Sarah Rose Goldstein with Rosie's Row Wood Shop, Michael at Gillette Woodworks, El Jefe de la Madera, that is Jeff from Maker's Way, Victor at Whim Designs, Malcolm in the middle, that is Nick Brim.
Me.
Max and Liz Reed over at Redesign Co. Bill Burkle at WTB Woodworking. Jake Coneen at Dobby's Craft House. Malcolm's official fluffer. Guess who that would be? That would be Patrick Gensel.
He is. I didn't know that was an open secret, but okay.
Yeah, well, it's an open secret now. Yes. Ed Mancini at Mancini Woodworking. Chris at Chris Will Make. Scott over at Red Lake Custom Woodworks. Max and Mindy Coons at the Stubby K Studio. Beast. Justin Bailey over at Campfire Woodworks, rounding out the lineup.
Wow. What a crew.
What a crew.
Smash.
Now, I can't believe I'm saying this, but there's room for more patrons on that list. And if they wanted to sign up, Dan, how would they get there?
Well, you could send me your money directly Or
No.
you could go to another woodshop podcast on Patreon. I almost butchered that, which would be patreon.com/another woodshop podcast.
There it is.
For tax purposes, do the second one. Not
Do the
first
second one. Yeah, just easier on our accounts.
Oh yeah, you don't. If you
Our-
send me money directly, I don't send receipts.
Our tax guy is already pissed. So
He's so
He's
mad. Why do we send him raw meat? Butcher box fail.
You didn't like the ground beef?
Oh man, I do have to apologize to our guest. I mispronounced his last name because I was so excited about the intro. I said McCutcheon, which I like better.
It's
McCutcheon.
I thought you did that on purpose.
No, I like
actually.
McCutcheon better. That's why I like screwed up the rest of it.
Is that like what was
it's
that
like
kid's
McLovin.
name? Yes.
McLovin.
Yeah,
McCutcheon.
Malcolm's forever Malcolm McCutcheon now.
I'll buy the T-shirt.
Yeah, I'll buy the T-shirt. Slapped out on a billboard. I don't know what that means, but speaking of billboards, let's talk about Bill Burkle over at WTB Woodworking. See, it came full circle, guys. This is great.
Very nice.
Yeah, it is. So, guys, it's the holiday season, and what better time of the year to spend money on tools, right, Dan? Dan knows a little bit about that.
Yes.
I do want to remind everyone that there is still a giveaway going on until December 13th for the Festool Quad Drive Drill. So that's super exciting. You can still win that. Make sure to go check that out over at WTBwoodworking.com. We're going to have a link there. Guys, they are expanding. He's got no chill. We know this already, right? He's constantly expanding. He's got more brands that are showing up. And he's now got even more woods. He's carrying 38 different species of raw lumber, various slabs. Yeah, I know, crazy. Not 39, not 37, 38. He's also got a Norwood bandsaw mill and a vacuum kiln from iDry. So he's able to do all the work and, of course, flatten everything out on his CNC. So he can literally take it from tree all the way down to dried slabs in just a couple of months, and you can have that in your shop and working on that project. Not only that, they actually just started expanding to working with small brands and maker brands. They are officially working with Bumbleshoots. They're working with Temple Tool Company, which is the new saw company that came out, and also with Nick from Stated Wood Co. So they're going to be selling his laser cut templates. I'm a little offended that he didn't ask any of us, but whatever. Nick is a great guy. We love him and support him, and we of course love and support Bill. So make sure to go check out his shop. He's constantly expanding and growing. Go check out his site. He's updating it daily. And make sure to enter that giveaway because there's going to be more. There's going to be more stuff in the future. So make sure to stay on top of it.
Don't enter the giveaway.
Enter it twice.
No, don't do that. I entered, so don't.
But you don't.
You're messing with my chances.
I see.
So go check that out. Go to WTBwoodworking.com/giveaway if you want to just double up on Braden's giveaway with your name. Yeah. I got you.
And the best part is his website. He ships from tree to shining tree.
Okay.
Boo.
Okay. Sorry about that, Bill. Well, this one's on us. Speaking of this one's on us, Malcolm's here. And if you guys don't know, Malcolm is the voice of the intro of AWP. He is the angelic voice you hear in the beginning. And this week you heard it live, and it was awesome. That was perfect. With one warm-up, he nailed it. Better than most of my intros.
I wasn't even going to tell people that he warmed up. I was just going to that was
and
a one-time
listen,
thing.
And not to overshadow anything, but I did fade the music perfectly too. So I just faded it live. It was pretty good.
You did okay on that.
All right,
he pronounced 6 separate names correctly.
And none of them
You
were Matthew
butchered one.
Everhart.
None of them were Matthew Everhart. And
Or
he still
Buck
managed to
Sexton.
also-
You
Yeah,
forgot
he
to
called-
mention Buck Sexton.
Buck Sexton, I'm writing that down.
And he still didn't
You
manage to
include
call
that.
any of us McCutcheon or anything like that.
Oh,
So-
he can McCutcheon
You know what?
us anytime.
A big touch in your heart.
Yeah, that's why he lives in Virginia. It's for lovers. Well, speaking of McCutcheon, Malcolm, who the hell do you think you are?
I'm Malcolm McCutcheon, but I do love McCutcheon. I'm in Yorktown, Virginia, and I have a little side gig called Bossa Nova Woodworks. I am also known as the voice of AWP and the international ambassador of Another Woodshop podcast from time to time.
That is true.
Yeah, we sent him to Europe.
I hold a couple of different titles here.
Oh, you're an envoy. I think that's the fancy
That's
word
right,
for it.
Right, the envoy.
I think that's
We'll
what they call
change
the
that.
envelope that goes with.
That's right. Who do I think I am? So I live in Yorktown, Virginia, and I don't take any of this very seriously. I make content to try to make folks laugh. I do love to get in the shop and just make things as much as I can. I don't really sell anything seriously. I just kind of have sort of tripped and found a bunch of my friends to be influencers and content creators. So I don't know how I ended up with this very expensive amount of friends. Yes, Dan.
I thought you were starting to sell prints on wood now. I thought that was your thing.
Thank you for that.
Coming next quarter.
Yeah.
My wife went
Get
to
your
a
picture on a
craft
piece
show.
of wood.
That's a little pre-show joke. My wife went to a craft show and tried to troll me today by sending me prints on wood, get your photos on wood, and told me that I was, what was the word? I am
Basic.
So basic. So
You basic.
yeah, we're pretty much a family of trolls. So I basically got into this stuff years ago. I was fortunate and to be raised by a man that was a mechanic, and my dad was always teaching us to rebuild engines. He had tools everywhere all the time. We had every single thing that we could do to repair things, to build things. I hated it when I was a kid, but I really came to value that over the years because eventually, as much as I hated it, I became eventually a homeowner. And I then started to, work at a white collar job after many years of being a blue collar worker, and missed getting back into the shop, working with tools, and just started to find this creative aspect of being a maker, whether it was like trying to make Halloween decorations, Christmas decorations, costumes, whatever it was, or just repairing things around the house. So I'm grateful for what my dad taught me, but none of it was woodworking. So when the pandemic hit, I had to start working remotely from home, like a lot of folks did. I work in e-commerce software development for a large national retailer, and being forced home and isolated, I just started to connect with YouTube videos who were teaching me how to do woodworking. And that's really where I got in the shop and started to do a little bit more refined projects there. So
Nice.
And you kind of have taken, I love where you've landed in the maker community, where we've had long conversations on the phone about like, what am I doing here? Right. And I know, aside from you being Mr. Mistopheles in Cats on Broadway, you haven't really done a lot of acting before. So you're that's totally fake. I just threw that out there. But you kind of fell into this role of like doing skits and jokes. And for a while, we had the whole conversation of, which we all have, how do I monetize this? How do I turn this into a business? Do I want it to be a business? And you fell into a role that I think a lot of us would find almost like enviable, which is you're here to have fun. That's it. And everything else is just gravy. And a lot of us tend to turn this into a business. So like, how did you fall into that role? Was that the intention? Or when Bossa Nova Woodwork started, were you thinking like, I'm going to be a furniture maker? Like, what was the journey there? From Cats to this.
How does it feel to not have to make money because you're so rich?
no, I'm not rich. Okay. I do worry about, I'm actually a very poor woodworker because I make decent money with my day job, but I keep it separate because I've got a kid in college. I've got a mortgage like everyone else. So I keep my finances completely separate here. So I just chose to spend all of my money that I do have for the business on hanging out with my friends who are very expensive. And I have to go to conferences to see.
We charge you fair rates.
It's just expensive to go to Maker Camp and Workbench Con and other places like that. So as a result, I have very secondhand used tools in my shop, and I probably wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, it would be great to have fancy stuff, but the challenge of going to figure things out without the latest and greatest technology, is something that I've loved doing. How I fell into the content creation stuff was really a combination of Daniel Dunlap and Drew Witt. I would say, yes. You don't know this, Dan, but
oh no, Dan inspired somebody. Oh God,
and Drew. Why did you just choose the worst name?
I get inspired by trolling. Okay, it's my love language, right? So years ago, a couple of years ago, I called in to this podcast and just with a regular question. And Dan
That's
made a
right.
joke, Malcolm in the middle. And I've heard that joke a bajillion times, and it doesn't offend me. But the next time I called in, I said the only thing I've ever been in the middle of was Dan's mom. And our
I
friendship
forgot.
I remember
became-
that. I remember that. And now he's a guest here. What the hell?
No.
Oh, how
I
the
know.
turntables.
I know. And so when I met him at Workbench Con, which I obviously had no business going to, but went to anyway, I met all of you there 2 years ago. I walked into that conference not knowing anyone and saw Dan and thought, because we had a few exchanges in voicemails, but I thought, okay, this guy's gonna like punch me or something, but he gave me this huge hug. So I met Braden there, I met Patrick, I met a bunch of folks, and Peter, everyone that I now consider my friend group, I've met through these different events. Drew is one of those. We started to talk. Drew is probably the bigger influencer on this, but I used a bigger influence on me, I should say. I used to create content years ago, and I gave it up because it was just a side hustle. I've always kind of had a side hustle, and I kind of stopped. This is like 2010 to 2013. I was making YouTube videos, doing blogs, a bunch of other kind of content. I quit that because it got a little stressful. And years later, I met Drew, just talking with him online, and he was dealing with some trolls, and I was trying to give him some advice. And then he eventually started talking to me about, why aren't you creating content? And I was like, okay, maybe I'll try. And I tried this one reel, and it was right before I went to Workbench Con. And then I walked into Workbench Con, again, not knowing a single person there. It took a lot to walk into that event and not know a single person. But one of the first people I met was Shar, who I'd been talking with online, and she gave me this huge hug. It was the strangest feeling, people hugging me that I've never talked to or never met in
Dar
person.
from Wood Maven.
Yes, Shard from Wood Maven. And I mean, without me even like saying, hi, I'm Malcolm, she just gave me a hug, which was crazy and great. And then Drew was the second person to do that. So we started talking and became friends. And then eventually, yeah, Braden.
Between Dan, Shar, and Drew, who gives the best hug?
Probably Shar, I'd imagine.
Shar is number one. Yeah.
Okay.
All day long.
Whatever.
Yeah, well, okay. So this is how I ended up getting back into content creation, and the war kind of escalated between Drew and I over Cutting Board Awareness Month, but it really became it really became about us, just trying to one up each other and mess with each other, and I think I won, but I got motivated by Drew trying to provoke me into like, you're funny, you should make some content. And I did. And so here I am.
Huh.
Love it. And you had you've dirtied your hands with some AWP related content as well. And that's where a lot of people were like, that was probably one of my favorite videos of the battle. The podcast battle.
fight.
The
Yeah. Podcast fight.
battle. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Braden actually is a big help on that one, because I don't think I could have done it without him.
We all know he
I was-
loves cutting out heads from magazines like a psychopath.
Malcolm, I do. Malcolm sends me a rough draft, and he's like, I just don't feel like taking the time to cut out all these heads. And so there's just like blocks. And I'm like, no. And it was basically the same as Dan's website. It was like, all right, well, I guess I'm staying up until 2, cutting out all these heads and making PNGs of them, because this is going to be classy.
It was great. I had this idea, and I was familiar with Bazaart and a couple of other apps for removing the backgrounds, but I just didn't have good quality photos of everyone. So, but I had been joking about doing this since the first Workbench Con that I went to, and I was hoping to hit it before we went to the next one. And thanks to Braden and a few other folks, we were able to get that done. So
You're welcome.
I remember
One of
thinking
the-
it was the dumbest thing that I was ever doing. But I know that almost everything that I do, I think is the dumbest thing that I'm doing. But if I'm still giggling about it later while I'm like and rewatching it, then I think it's a good thing.
I mean,
It
you
was
got to
one of the
admire
highlights
that.
of the year.
At least 150 of those views are mine. Just
Just watching it. Yeah, I definitely watched it dozens of times.
my only request was that was when I was with the other podcast, and I was like,
Yeah.
I want us to be Spanish speaking news. It's the only
What-
thing I demand.
What
it.
other podcast are you talking about?
The
Never heard of it.
the live online
We built
social
a
media
thing.
audio experience called Sawdust Talk.
The instead of Telemundo, Telemaco. So dumb. I love it. Well, like, what's your goal for the business now? Like, are you just gonna
Is
have
it a
fun?
business?
Like,
No,
because like you
it is a
started a
business.
brand, right? And did you actually start a business? Are you thinking about doing something with it, or are you just gonna YOLO it and have fun?
One of the questions that I've called in before, where maybe twice I've called it in asking you guys was like if you could build anything that you wanted and budget wasn't an issue and you just had the time to do it, what would you build? And the answer has been great, but I've always was kind of hoping someone would say a brand, and that's what I would do. Like if I didn't have constraints, I'm trying to build a brand, but it's it's really
Branding iron?
no, not a branding
This is
iron,
the this
but
is the
close.
long game. He says he asked the question more than one time, which means he didn't get the answer he wanted the first time, or the second time he's like,
Right.
forget about it. I'm coming on the show and I'm going to get my answer.
I'm going to give
20
myself
no's
the
and a
answer.
yes means yes.
Yes.
So build a brand.
It's really living vicariously through what you guys have done. But I really, if I'm doing anything, it's just I don't have a goal of trying to make money or sell products. I don't really know what I'm doing other than just trying to have fun. I feel like if I didn't get out there and have fun, then I would want to not do this at all.
So I have a question, and I need you to answer it very concisely for our listeners. So what you're saying is you're just having fun, and the goal is to have more fun, and you are currently having fun, and it's okay that you're not trying to sell products.
It is okay with an asterisk. So
Okay.
I would say that it's a very expensive hobby and it's a very expensive friend group for me to have. So if I could find a way to pay for some of my travel, which again, I don't own a CNC, I don't have a fancy shop because I've taken that same budget and just put it into going and seeing people, right? And which is more important to me. Experiences are the things I'm going to remember at the end of the road and not things that I bought or didn't buy. So the memories are the most important thing. I don't mean to get sappy there, but I'm living for those experiences. So I do have a business because of tax reasons to try to write some of this stuff off. But
Man,
in general,
keeping you down.
well, it just makes good sense to always have even a sole proprietorship, which is what I have now, to have that and write a few things off as you're doing it. But
Love it.
I'm not trying to make huge sponsorship money. I have a great job. It pays me well. I'm just trying to enjoy what I'm doing here.
I love that.
Make people laugh.
And the reason I'm stressing that is because a lot of our listeners call in with, like, how do I grow this? How do I get to this level? Like, you could also just have fun.
This could just stay a hobby.
Yeah.
From what I understand, girls just want to have fun.
Honestly,
Easy there, Cindy.
nobody talks about it. Seriously, nobody talks about it. Boys too.
Oh,
Boys
yes.
too.
Yeah, we just want to have
Okay.
fun. Yeah,
We do.
We want to have fun. You have to pause.
Yeah.
There's a little thing in there. I love it. By the way, so you're talking about, first of all, you keep calling us very expensive friends. We don't charge you to hang out.
No.
Just let's be clear, everyone. We don't charge them to hang out.
No.
Okay.
I thought we
Telling
I thought
people
we
about
were.
that. It was one time.
Traveling to where we happen to be geographically tends to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
when it's maker kit
But
in the middle of the
I
woods.
gladly do it. I gladly will do
But
it.
so, what are some of the spots you're going to be planning to visit to see your maker family this coming year?
Always maker camp.
Okay.
100%.
Stop at my house, probably, right?
And now it's going to be a new tradition to stop and watch you shoot fireworks at Braden.
It's
again.
fine. He took a work call
No.
on a vacation. That's his fault.
I was so mad.
No,
So mad. I heard the giggling. I'm like, I'm not gonna like whatever happens next.
I have better footage of that than Nick does, Nick Brim, and I plan on posting that the next time, either New Year's Eve when there's fireworks or July 4th. It's getting reposted again.
Mother
I'm waiting.
effer.
Why not
Happy
both?
New Year.
Yeah, maybe both. And then I'm really, I do commute to Atlanta a lot for my day job.
Commute.
Where
That's a hike.
I mean, I do travel there 4, 5, 6 times a year, right? And I'll spend a week there. It usually doesn't line up with Workbench Con, but I might just go ahead and go down there anyway for Workbench Con. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a ticket or not, but in general, just to be able to have the opportunity to hang with my peeps, that's what I would do.
Lobby's calling your name?
Yeah, absolutely. And I usually work in that area anyway, so I'm still trying to see if I can work out.
Do you
something
have
there.
any poll on when you get to go to Atlanta for work, or is it
No,
just
not always. Sometimes I can have a little influence, but mostly, and it's getting more frequent than the 4, 5, 6 times a year. It might even be more often than that, but it's very close to where the Workbench Con event is. That's where I usually go to travel.
I don't even know when Workbench Con
Have you-
is this year.
Have you considered telling your
February
job
20
who
something.
the FUB?
Do you know how
That's
French
right,
toast I
listen.
am?
Any brands that may be listening? Maybe have Malcolm here make you some content and you sponsor him to go to Workbench Con.
Boom. There you
Maybe.
Yeah, I think it's
I
February
will.
27th?
27th through March
First.
or second.
Yeah, it's-
Yeah.
Saturdays, first. Sunday, it's just the day you recover.
Right.
AWP
I'm actually
is also
kind
willing
of excited to not drive this year. I'm flying in, so less tired.
Oh.
Sorry, what were you saying?
I was going to say AWP is willing to take half of our normal finder's fee if you do book Malcolm as your talent. So
Yes.
5%, 5%.
He does magic tricks.
I will
He
work for
does.
travel. That's basically what I will work for.
and scraps.
And scraps. Dan scraps. Yes.
Oh, I love it. And I love that you've become like such an ingrained part of our community too. Like we all kind of just BS now. You're so tied to Drew and also like you're close to him and he's kind of growing and blowing up in his own way. Don't tell him we said that. He doesn't listen to this anyways. So it's always sometimes interesting to see like the friends you make along the way, and like some are going to be bigger, some are going to be smaller, but everyone's equal on the platform. Everyone talks to each other. We're all friends. And you brought some people. You brought Nick from Design is Blank today, and to introduce him to our show. So it's crazy to see like the net that we weave, and sometimes you find another pocket of makers that don't know about your pocket of makers, and we all just kind of get to hang out again. So it's pretty cool.
And then we intermingle.
And we
Intertwine.
The real makers are the friends you make along the way.
and then we snare them.
It's really
And then
interesting
we
because
learn
pre-pandemic, I hate to keep bringing this up, but I was going into an office every day, and we all have these relations. If you've worked in an office before, if you remember what it was like to go in an office every day, you have these relationships that feel like family because you're like with them all the time, right? And then the world changed, and we're not. Even if you're talking to them either through a computer screen, you're not there with them. The connections are the same, but
You can't smell them.
Inherently it's an unhealthy kind of relationship that gets built into our working lives. And so the isolation that was sort of forced on us, many of us, by the pandemic, even folks working like you guys alone a lot of the times, you're still not interacting with folks as much. So I think finding a replacement for that in this community has been very helpful for me, at least.
Oh yeah.
It's helped me a lot.
I mean, some of our closest friends now are people we barely see. Like I didn't see Dan for the first 9 months I knew him. We had the podcast together.
And
I
then I
never
was
met him.
born, and I came out of his womb, and I gave him a hug.
And yeah, it's crazy. There's so many people that we've met. And like, that's the thing, like the Workbench Con effect, you see them for the first time and you just get big hugs because it's like, wow, like, hey, I know you, like we're friends from the internet.
We did that at the Workbench Con just before COVID, just when things were starting to pop off. And then like
We're
a week
hugging?
after, we were
hugging?
like, oh, there was an outbreak of COVID because of Workbench Con? I wonder why.
No.
Well, It's interesting that you bring up the pandemic, like messing with all of our relationships. So there's a sociological concept of a third place as well that kind of got wrecked by COVID. And so what the third place is some place that's not home and some place that's not work. And it's basically it's cheer. It's it's a place where everybody knows your name, but
Hey.
it is the social aspect of our lives, and that kind of was destroyed by COVID, and that really hasn't bounced back for a lot of people. Certainly not as much as it has, and we've turned the internet into our third place.
We created a third place with the live. I know it's not like the biggest thing in the world, but like we have our crew. We talk every week. I know what they're always up to because they're in the chat. I think that's great. Yeah. So
I actually went to a event venue, like gaming and all this other stuff in Atlanta, and it was called the Third Place for that very reason. So it was actually a pretty fun place. It was like old arcade games, pinball machines, bowling, all that stuff together in a huge thing, and it was called the Third Place. So exactly what you're talking about, Braden. But I would say that pre-pandemic, at least in my world, that third place got invented mainly with coworkers. So we would like hang out after work, like and
Right.
that became kind of the third place, which is not necessarily the most healthy thing out there. So I'm okay with it.
now we
being
do the
fun.
Stoop hangouts and lives and
Right.
podcasts.
Tomato.
Potato.
Yeah, you've just got healthy relationships with unhealthy people. So, same but different.
Totally fine with that.
Put an
Those are my
on in front
people.
of both of those, and we're good.
Yeah.
Accurate.
I love it.
So,
Love it.
okay, it is CBAM RW. I want to shift a little bit into Cutting Board Awareness Month and the following Remembrance Week.
Is that what that stands for?
It's
That's
currently Cutting Board Awareness
Awareness Month.
Month.
CBAM.
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 Or
CBAM.
Kabam.
I thought
Kabam.
Alex Adams just had a.
Ooh, baby,
No.
when she moves, she moves.
We don't have Tourette's. It's
Oh,
Kabam.
wow. Okay.
Walk us through what the Flying F this is and how it came to be and why it's taking the internet by storm.
Okay, so Drew Witt, big time woodfluencer.
Here we go
was
again.
We've already
also-
said his name way too much.
Yeah,
was also the inspiration for the term woodfluencer, as I was joking on him about being a woodworking influencer, which is a story for another time. It was a hashtag I tried to make popular. But Cutting Board Awareness Month, another stupid meme I tried to start, started because Drew would like on his Discord talk about how he didn't like cutting boards. And he denies it now, but he definitely was like, you're not allowed to, like, in this contest, you're not allowed to put a cutting board in. Or if you put a cutting board in a picture in this forum, I'm going to like delete it, whatever. So he was definitely a hater of cutting boards, but he was joking. But I knew he didn't like it. So every time that I would go out and see something, or if I was making a cutting board, I would start sending him pictures. Meanwhile, he knows that I don't like ASMR stuff, especially the stuff where people are slowly peeling the plastic off of the electronic screen or the glue brush thing. And it's not like I hate it. It just became a thing where I was like, yeah, that's stupid. Why would you do that? And I started making content where I was just ripping things off instead of doing the slow peel.
I remember that. Okay.
And so he starts sending me, texting me pictures of every time, exactly like that. Every single time that he would get a new piece of electronics or anything he got the plastic off, he would start to send me a slow peel video. And I was sending him, and I'd go into Rockler, I'd say, oh, look at this mini cutting board set that you could have. So we just kept on texting each other this terrible stuff that we both hated. It was
Well,
funny.
way to flex that you have his cell phone number. That's
And eventually, it escalated because we're children. It escalated to the point where I was like, I'm going to dedicate 10 straight days in the month of November to Cutting Board Awareness Month, and you're going to hate it. I'm going to tag you in every single thing. And he's like, no, you're not. I'm like, yes, I am. But this was the reverse psychology of Drew getting me to post content and become more of a content creator. And so that's how it started. And
now it's
the
Remembrance Week, right?
And then he made up the Cutting Board Awareness Month, Remembrance Week, being the first week in December. So
See, I just call it cutting board season. Like for me, that's cutting board season. It's the end of the year. It's like I just got to get rid of a bunch of scraps.
that's where I got it from.
Oh, really?
Was when you said cutting board season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just make them once a
Completely
year.
made up thing. Completely made up thing. Just trying to troll a friend and see how far I could take it.
Just to be clear, Drew is not responsible for cutting board awareness
No.
Remembrance Week, and I
was
have
that you?
I have the receipts for
You
it.
did it?
I have the receipts for it. Yes,
You did it. Okay, great. All right. Braden.
What if we turn cutting board season into like a meme where it's like hunting season and people get ready and they get their gear on to go hunting
Ooh,
cutting boards.
I taught
get
a
up
putty cat.
early.
Yeah.
At the break of dawn, getting
Right.
their tree stand for cutting boards. There
You
go.
need a cutting
Next
board call.
No, but when you blow it, it's just the sound of a planer. Just
Right. It's going to be great.
straight knife though. That's gotta be loud.
You could also go multicultural, and next year could just be the year of the cutting board.
Wait,
Yes.
I'm just imagining a call and it's DeWalt colored. And it's a 735.
I'm going to see if I can 3D print that.
Yeah,
That would be amazing.
Just a cutting board call. I'm still deep in cutting board awareness month. Like I have so many boards or pieces prepped that need to be glued together. And that's why I call it a season, because like I can't squeeze it into a 1 month, especially November. It's too busy.
Right.
Yeah.
It's Awareness Month.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to be, it's just to bring awareness to
Too much
mundane
awareness.
cutting
No,
board.
I'm so aware.
In case people forget. We don't want people to forget.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Well,
So you've got cutting board awareness month. What would you say is above all? Like what are some of your other troll pieces? Because you've had some other really good troll pieces.
I think, well, I'm not sure if it's a troll piece, but I tried to make the hashtag Woodfluencer popular. And I just started to I came up with that phrase on my own and then found that other people had used it and it was a hashtag, but
and you sued
it's
them.
so stupid. It's so stupid, but no one was using the hashtag. Like a few people had done it. And I was like, how far can I take this stupid joke? I even had a logo made for it. And
T-shirts.
and t-shirts.
It's my favorite
How far
t-shirt.
can I do this? So this is, again, not a good business decision. It's not something I'm making money on, right? But it's just for the love of the game, I guess, like to actually see what I could, mess around with. So that's one of the trolls, I would say.
Basically, you yourself have become an influencer on influencers. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to
An
influence
influencer.
Yeah.
He's an influencer.
Right. Right.
Oh.
My audience is primarily other content creators, which is a small niche. Let me tell you something.
He's holding up the mirror to content creators.
To the community.
Yeah. This is you guys, and you're dumb. But also,
I don't know about dumb. I think it's
but also
funny.
LOL.
I think they're great. I think everyone's great.
Well, way to
Awesome.
make me see things I don't want to see and acknowledge things I don't want to acknowledge. Thanks, therapy.
Why do I pay for this?
Get
Are
it for
the,
free on the internet in the
Are the
comments.
Woodfluencer shirts available somewhere? Or
Oh
is-
yeah, on my website, or
There we
actually
go.
on Etsy, Bossa Nova Woodworks.etsy.com.
It'll be in the show notes.
Yeah. Go get yourself a Woodfluencer shirt. It's my favorite shirt.
It's totally ridiculous, but it is a great shirt.
It is a piece of wood holding a phone, and it's hilarious. And
I
you
think I
should.
have one somewhere.
LOL.
Too.
We all LOL'd.
IRL.
In real life, yes, Dan. Good.
I'm
So
glad you translated for the younger crowd.
you know,
hip.
not everyone that listens to this show is as cool and hip as
Hip
us.
with the lingo.
Mhm.
IYKY.
Whoa!
Whoa.
Look at you.
Easy. Easy.
The TLDR of that is, let's see, that's another one. Ah.
You guys
Too
are
long to
dropping
read.
some real Ohio riz.
Okay, well, with that, hate you so much. Also, happy Merry Rismas, everyone.
Christmas.
Yeah, that's the new thing this year. Merry Rismas. It is
Oh,
December officially.
I saw a T-shirt on TikTok that said Skibbity Rismus.
A Skibbity Rismus. That's what it is. Yes. Thank you, Dan. We saw the same thing. Okay.
Yeah.
I hate
I'm
that.
like, oh, I should buy that.
Yep.
I hate that so much.
Skibbity Rismus. It's great. All right. Well, should we get into let's know what's on the bench? It's been a while, and I want to hear what Malcolm's up to as well.
Let's
So
do it.
you guys like, let's do it.
What's on my bench?
And notice how the volume's the right volume.
I'm
Man,
proud of
good
you,
job,
Ben.
Petey.
That's great.
Proud
And
of
speaking
you.
of volume, Dan, what's on your bench?
Oh, I see what you did there. Volume is up. Volume is way up.
Neighbors are
Of,
madder.
Of Etsy orders?
Yeah, bro.
Oh,
Black
I thought you were talking
Friday,
about just shop noise because of the planer.
volume across the board. See what I did there? Across the board.
Yes.
I get it.
Board.
Planing.
Yeah, Black Friday, my sale did really good. I started the week before Black Friday with, I want to say, high 30, low 40s in my order queue. And as you guys can attest to, because I sent you a screen grab, my order queue was over 100 by Monday morning.
Dang.
Busting.
It was busting at the so Etsy will say 99 plus. If you go past 99, they won't tell you how much is in your order queue. So
They figure you have a problem.
yeah. Oh yeah, I get daily messages from Etsy themselves saying, "Hey, we see you're falling behind. Might want to change your ship by date."
Sure, your lead time.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so Black Friday was good, which is great because I have a new machine to pay for. By the way, that machine is amazing. The finish on that thing is coming off like finish ready. I mean, it's so great.
This is a really weird way to describe Sutton.
I don't know what to say to that. No, I haven't even turned on
What-
my drum sander all
What's
week.
the machine? You haven't
Well-
you haven't said what machine it is.
Why
last
haven't
week-
you turned on your drum sander, Dan?
Last week I talked about how I got the planer. We talked about that, didn't we?
I haven't listened
Yeah.
to last week's episode.
You were here.
So
You were
According
a
to
part of
you-
this.
so Dan got a planer.
I
So
got
for those
I got a
just tuning
Grizzly 5 horsepower 20-inch helical head planer. It's amazing.
Hashtag
Hooked
Mary
it up
Thickness.
with the most sketchy, India splice type cable electrical work ever.
It's fine.
He tested it with their tongue,
It's
and then they just
fine.
wrapped it around a pole.
It's OSHA approved as long as nobody from OSHA shows up.
It's
Right.
220, 320. We don't know. It's one of the 20s.
So fun little story. I wanted to see
no.
how much the planer could plane if a planer could plane planes.
Oh my God! Yeah, of course.
So he
was.
chucked a woodchuck in it.
No, so I planed a 16-inch walnut panel, and I took off a quarter inch. Quarter inch is too
Just
much.
immediately dulled all of his knives.
Wow.
Quarter inch is too
Quarter
much.
inch.
I popped a breaker, and there was a flash of light.
Oh no. And Dan's
So,
in heaven now.
I don't know if I'm actually here. Is it? Are we doing this? Am I actually here, or is this a sad dream?
Only
Turn-
Dan would be like, I've launched things into the garage door with my drum sander. Let's see if I can do it with my planer.
It didn't launch. It's got good kickback. I'll tell you what. So a quarter inch is too much.
Yes.
So I did the test. I wanted to see how deep we could go.
Yeah,
It's
quarter
like
inch.
driving off the lot with a new car and just hitting a curb. Well, that felt stiff.
no,
I don't
he
know
had
if
to
it was a
stress
quarter
test
inch. I'm
it.
guessing, but it was
Yeah.
pretty deep.
He had to figure out where the limits were.
Anything
I did.
over an eighth is come on, you're being rude.
It's 5 horsepower. I was like, well, that's beefy. Let's go. Let's go.
He's coming from
Um,
drum sander land. He has no idea what's appropriate or not.
Yeah. He's like,
Right.
oh, it's so fast. I can't even go around to grab it when it comes out.
So, yeah, I haven't turned on my drum sander all week, and as Braden alluded to, it's because it's in busted land. It needs a new drive roller. There's a knurled roller on the front where you
The knurler is
Yeah.
unknurled. Yeah.
it unknurled.
Yeah.
So the
which
knurl
happens.
the knurl wore off because I use that drum sander more than Laguna ever imagined anybody would use.
He
that
called
drum
Laguna and they were like, we offer the part, but we've never made one because no one's
Yeah.
ever needed it.
It's way in the back next to the holy grail that we keep in the back
Yeah.
that Indiana Jones dropped off, or was
That's
that
the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah, whatever it was.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't pre-knurl these. We gotta send it out
flat.
for knurling.
Yeah, they had to send it to South Korea, and then they went martial law or something. So
Oh,
I don't know if
no.
that was my fault.
Too soon.
What else? Oh yeah, so we made a mobile clamp cart because with the new planer, we had to rearrange my shop to get everything to kind of work together. And
Synergy.
yeah, there's a word that you don't hear enough. Synergy.
Corporate.
So not Braden, Sutton and I whipped together a mobile clamp cart real quick. I put
They
it
look the
together in
same.
like an hour and a half. They don't actually. They don't look anything alike. I don't
We
know
both
how
have
they're
2
brothers.
eyes and faces.
That's it.
Clones.
That's it. Yeah, so that actually has been a super handy addition to my shop because it got the clamps off the wall. So now Sutton doesn't have to go all the way across the shop, which is a super long walk. I mean, I have a massive shop. So everything's really close to the assembly table. So when he's gluing up panels and tables and stuff, like everything's right there. So production in my shop is popping with that planer and the clamps right next to the table. Things are just going really well. They're vibing well. And I am ecstatic about the way things are going in the shop. I was going to mention something else, but I can't remember.
Dan's shop efficiency, much like his breakers, are popping.
Oh. I gotta say, I'm a big fan of the 5th wall in the shop. Like just slapping a wall between the 2 car bays. Like that's basically where you guys slap the like up. Well,
I will not have a permanent wall.
Well, it's still
it's a mobile wall. It's a
mobile
5th wall.
He put wheels on it, but it'll never move, so like it'll just be whatever. But having like another wall in the middle of the shop is now that I have it, makes all the sense in the world. It's great.
Yeah.
Hang up so much stuff.
Oh yeah, and today I whipped out a quick clamp solution for the because we put French cleats on the clamp wall. So I whipped out a quick French cleat clamp holder thing.
Nice.
Yeah. We call those Toma cleats.
Whatever happened to Toma? We haven't heard him in a while.
I'm gonna see him in June.
We sent Malcom there, and now he doesn't call in anymore. Toma, we miss you. Hope your business is doing well.
Oh yeah, and we'll talk about this more next week. But Braden and I have another craft fair coming up this very weekend, and sadly, we sold out of almost everything that we had. So I'll let Braden talk about that more. That's my week in a nutshell.
We messed up.
No, you didn't mess up. You had someone go, I'll take I'll take 20 of everything. Just load them up into my Escalade. I don't know why he says
exactly how it went.
Chuck them into the back of my van with the big Temu logo.
Oh no.
Oh, I forgot about my Temu.
Talk about that.
as some of you know, I like Temu. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. But not everything is of the greatest quality when you get stuff from Temu, unfortunately. Sometimes you get some real duds.
Budget friendly.
So I got a square from Temu. And on the blade, it's not a combo square. It's just a kind of square is that.
Yeah, sure.
Marking square.
A square.
Yeah.
Well, on the blade, it says hardened steel, right? And as soon as I took it out of the package, I was like, oh no, I have to make a video of this. So
it felt so light.
I could bend it with one finger. Like I literally bent it in half with one finger. And if you go to my page on IG, I posted a reel of it. That was the first take.
Boomerang framing square. It will come back to you.
That thing was the hugest joke. Anyway, that's been my week. I want to hear what's up with the Malcom in the middle.
Oh, well, just a quick note on Toma. I'm going to see him in June, and I'll make sure that he does another, call in at least by then, maybe if not
okay.
before.
Well,
so,
yeah, if you can get one by the end of June, would be great.
Yeah, 100%. What's on my bench? Let's see. Right now, I'm working on clearing out all the cutting board scraps that were left over. Like I'm just ready
Do you sell your scraps? You probably should.
I have a whole
Braden
bunch of
makes a killing.
scraps.
Oh,
right?
Can
And I'm
you
making
sell
something special out of
Dan
that.
scraps?
Dan
Yes.
Scraps, Virginia chapter.
Dan scraps. Dan square scraps. I'm gonna do it.
Dan's Temu squared Dan scraps.
I do have an application to become an authorized reseller.
I have several charcuterie boards, serving boards, and cutting boards left to make. I'm so sick of making them. So I've made about maybe 8 of them, and I need to like set the rest of the side because I have another project. So right now, what's on my bench is I'm recreating a walnut Christmas tree. It was really not, it was like a wooden Christmas tree that my wife saw at, I think it was like a Crate and Barrel type situation, probably overpriced. We were walking through the store and she was like, "You could make that, couldn't you?" And stupid me was like, "Oh, yeah, I'd make it a lot better than that." And a year went by. That was last Christmas. So I started to try to make the patterns for it. I don't have a CNC, don't really do any kind of modeling there. So finally getting around to that, and I've basically cut out a bunch of different size of mustaches, is the best way I could call them, of 8-quarter walnut, and made it into a tree. And I took a what's called like a 3/4 inch furniture grade PVC pipe, black PVC pipe. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but
Furniture grade black PVC pipe.
never-
I have
I've never heard
You
of
mean
furniture grade.
any
That's how it's
shelf
listed.
hardware for any like crappy coffee shop?
It's a black plastic. No, it's not. It's like black plastic pipe.
Oh,
and
I thought you were talking about like the metal pipe that people like build furniture and shelves out of.
no, it's
Oh.
called. It's just a black plastic PVC pipe, but it's called furniture pipe. Or maybe it's not furniture grade. Maybe I'm mixing the terms. But what was your question, Braden?
Oh,
You said
nothing.
yeah,
I was
right,
I was
okay.
being polite.
It's fine. It's totally fine. So basically, I found this 3/4 inch pipe, right? And that's what I'm like mounting them all on. But I needed a way to create spacers in between so that the arms rotate for each one of them. And I found 3D printing to be the answer to that. So I was able to print out different size spacers that went in between all of the different limbs, and it really just saved me the time of having to try to, like, I did do a lot of trial and error on printing them, but it really worked out in my favor because I had no idea how I was going to get that done. So that's what's on my bench right now. I'm this close to being done after a year of struggling with it. So
It's okay. The best projects take forever.
they do.
Right.
That's
That's what I tell all my customers.
Yeah.
Braden, what are you doing this week?
Well, I have a question for you guys based on my
Here we
bench.
go.
I have a question for you guys. Dan, you may be the best one to help me with this. When you get overwhelmed with the to-do list, how do you just get started? Because I'm at a point where I have so much stuff to do that it's and it like keeps piling up that
Bro.
I'm basically just like locking down, and mentally I'm just like, not today, Satan. I'm just going to pretend it's not there.
That would be me every day. You know what helps?
Is
The
it my
fact that
brother?
I know the fact that I know Sutton's showing up. So I have to get out there. That right there.
Ugh,
You can't have him. He's mine.
I had him first, and I gave him to you. I'm gonna rent him. I'm gonna rent him back.
Like a mule.
Yeah. So
Sutton scraps.
I'm still working on the kitchen island. And unfortunately my CNC's been caught up with other projects, so I haven't had a chance to cut out the bases of all my cabinets. I have cabinet insert parts all like across our living room and different rooms inside the house where my wife hates the woodworking stuff coming. Like, apparently there's supposed to be a wall between the fact that I got 3 of our 4 bays in the garage as my shop. Apparently that means I shouldn't be in the house. It's super selfish of her. But you know, I'll learn her one
Agreed.
day. So I'm still working on the island. I need to get that done. Like Dan said, in 12-ish hours, he's headed over here to load up because we have another craft fair that we didn't mean or plan on having to do. So we wholesale sold pretty much everything we had at our last craft fair, which was 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Unfortunately, neither of us has had a ton of time to batch out mass produced items for craft fairs. So we've basically just
And I can't order anything from Temu. It won't get here soon enough.
I thought about just like wholesaling some stuff from Etsy just to have it. Or from what we should have done is last week we should have ordered from Alex. He's told us he wholesales stuff. We should have ordered wholesale.
Can you overnight that to us, Alex?
Yeah.
You had all week to call him.
I know.
But so we're prepping for that. Dan's actually coming over after we get done recording this so that we can batch out. We've like quadrupled down on the one product that we know we can move in bulk. We are
because we do demos on site regardless of fire safety.
We don't mind starting fires in buildings, so we are making as many whiskey smokers as we can.
That is right.
In honor of CBAM RW, I also batched out 3 fairly beefy cutting boards. These are like home security cutting boards, but they're real nice. Made with 100% locally sourced Dan scraps. Visit danscraps.com for yours.
A real website.
It is a real website. And that's kind of it. I've been messing around with the FL Sun 3D printer that I got too. Let me tell you, a Delta style printer is really, really neat, but Bamboo has spoiled me to the fact that I just expect these things to work now.
You have to tweak settings.
I sold both of my enders, and so I haven't had to tweak a setting in a while. And
you need a middler. I got one right here.
Malcolm.
What? You got rid of
ender,
2 ends, 2 ender.
I get it. LOL.
It was a terrible joke.
Malcolm's just shaking his head.
Rafflecopter.
Rafflecopter? Can you age yourself? Oh my god! Jeez, get out of here.
Listen, I'm old Greg.
Since you brought up that FL Sun, can we tease this a little bit?
I think we can tease it, but
let's tease it.
It is a crazy, just the way that Delta printers work. If you haven't seen one, is basically instead of having the bed move underneath the print head, Pete, correct me,
like a bed slinger.
Yeah, like a bed slinger. It has 3 arms that connect to the print head, and they basically pull up and down and like to move the head, and it is bananas fast. Like the test print out of this thing was hitting like 1200 millimeters per second, and
and I would recommend dialing that back for great results.
Yeah.
It's fast, but it can be dialed back for way better quality results, but it's still fast.
But the teaser is we all 3 got one, right?
Yep.
And we're not going to give any details, but we're going to have one to give away to our patrons probably in January.
Paid patrons.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a Patreon giveaway we're going to be putting together, so keep an eye out for that.
That's a $600 machine, if I'm not mistaken.
And it is it's an unopened one, like it's ready.
Yeah,
like
it's unopened.
It's like we're shipping you a whole one together.
Where can you sign up to be a patron?
Patreon.com/anotherwoodshop podcast.
There you go.
And if you sign up, you also get your name read by Dan at the beginning of the episode. So
that's amazing. What a deal.
Or every week if you're a VIP.
And you can change your name every week.
I think, actually, since we're spitballing this, we should give like one entry for...
Yeah, we'll work out the tiers. Tiers have different...
2 entries, 3 entries.
Oh, of course.
Your tiership will play into your chances to win.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Oh,
cool.
But yeah, expect that to be coming out either...
And if all goes well, this is the first of many quarterly giveaways, or we'll see however many as many as we can do per year.
I pitched monthly, but these guys are saying quarterly, so we might meet in the middle. What would be octuple?
Octopular?
Yeah, octopular.
Yeah,
so like that's quarterly.
Science.
I just had a stroke trying to think.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway,
go on.
If this isn't foreshadowing of how this is going to go, we're just 3 guys out here trying our best.
We just did our second of our quarterly, meaning 4 per year Zoom calls, and they're like, let's do a weekly giveaway or a monthly giveaway. And I'm like, let's do quarterly and actually aim for quarterly. Let's do it. But we'll definitely be giving some stuff away. We're going to be leaning into our sponsors to provide some cool stuff for you guys. So, yeah.
Right.
And sometimes it'll just be junk in our shop. We'll be like, who wants this domino?
Who wants this Temu square?
Or that, exactly. So we'll
I
mix
should have
it
threw
up.
it out. I should have kept it.
Yeah.
You should have. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So messing with the 3D printers, I've been talking about my little pretty 3D printing home that I've been setting up.
I need to
Once again, talking about my wife because I like her. She is very happy.
Does she like you?
Legally, I've made it so inconvenient to leave me.
The kid really locks it down.
The kid, the house, the business, the properties, I've made it just short of legally binding. I don't know. I've done what I can. But yeah, she's very happy that all of the 3D printers have been confined to one space instead of one upstairs in the craft room and several in the basement.
You just got to have one within walking distance always.
That's what I told her,
or within arm shot.
Yeah, she told me that is, and I quote, the stupidest thing I've heard you say in a minute. So I found a spot to put them.
Well, she just doesn't like to have fun.
She doesn't.
Some girls just don't want to have fun.
Fun for her is Excel spreadsheets. So
there you go.
It's a totally different type of fun.
There you go.
But anyway, so that's my week. Peter,
Nice.
Hello. Oh, you said my government name.
I don't. Everybody else calls you Peter, and I don't know you as Peter.
In the maker community,
it makes me uncomfortable.
When people say my name out loud, I know where they know me from. Because like my close friends, it's Peter, and then
Peter
the maker
Kapar.
community, it's Pete, and that's how I know where I know people from. Oh, one of those. All right.
So
but
I
anyways,
just know you from the maker community now.
yeah. The maker world. Yeah. So Pete, which is played by me this week.
Just
Petey, I'm just Petey from the block. Okay, we're getting sued for that one. So Petey from the block had a craft fair last week, and I took to heart what Alexander Gilligan Duffy with an EY taught us last week, and I actually adjusted some of my pricing. So I know no more are the days of $12 and whatever dollar items. It was all 5s, 10s, 20s, fives on to 5, all the numbers. And it made my grab items grabbier even. So all the book holders, the bottle openers, they went real fast. I also just wanted to move a bunch of stuff. So the cutting boards, I priced a little lower.
Move it.
And I like a simple math of how to price a cutting board. So I usually price literally X times Y times Z divided by 144 times $60. So you get your board footage.
Not simple math. That is.
No, but it's just a little spreadsheet. Throw it into Excel. Yeah, ladies. But it's just if you just literally do the board footage of the cutting board, times 65 is for standard boards, times 75 for more exotic woods or end grain. You can charge more too. Some people will charge more, some will charge less. But I had 3 of these large end grain cutting boards that I made last fall. I made a bunch then, but I had 3 left over, and they just wouldn't sell. And I dropped the price to $190 and $195 for the 3, and they sold. What? Yeah. So just dropping it $20 and moved the stock. And I was like, you know what?
Dropped it like it's hot.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it went from 210, 215, or something like that to 190, 195, and they sold real fast. So just adjusting the pricing really helped, including some of the other medium-sized ones. And I had a great, it was a one-day event instead of a whole weekend. They changed it to one day, and they also moved it from what would be this weekend to the weekend right after Thanksgiving, which was last week. And at first, I told the coordinator too, I was going to yell at you because this is the worst week for most of these makers because they're all on holiday and they have no time to prep. But everyone's in town. Everyone's home for the holidays. Everyone's looking for stuff to do with the family. Great time to do a fair. we cleared $1,200
Woo!
for one day, which is
Ow.
phenomenal. Like that's a really good fair. And now Alex Duffy's probably like, oh, that's a Wednesday for me, because he always kills it. But it was really good. I took to heart what he said, and it was pretty good. We had a good setup. It's so funny. Like I was so organized with the totes. I got there, but I was tweaking and moving stuff around. We got there at like 8:45, 9 o'clock. It started at 10 o'clock. I think I finished tweaking and moving stuff around at like 12:30, and then it wrapped up at 4.
That's a long time of tweaking.
So like I kept just like moving stuff around, take another stand out. I also apparently my tolerances on my cutting board stands are a little too tight because it's a snug fit right off the, like once you sand it a little bit off the CNC. But when it expands a little bit with humidity,
Are you talking like the little the holder things?
It's a stand like, for 5 cutting boards, and then it's got a crossbar to like slide into it.
Use.
The thing that Dan just obliterated of ours at the last craft fair because the tolerances were really tight.
It's still, I still got a scar.
Oh, you break it? Dude, I was literally hammering it, and I was like, at some point I gave up, and someone like lifted up a heavy board, and the rest of the boards teetered. So like, I got to adjust my tolerances. A little
Braden's
looser
was so
fine.
tight, I was smashing it with my hand, and then I broke it, and then I got a pretty bad cut. So that'll
just goes to show you, leave a little room for the Lord, like a dance. Little room. So anyways, the craft fair was a great success. I got to finish up custom orders and ship them out to people, and moved a lot of stock. I'm also just like trying to, I'm still in cutting board season, Malcolm. So I want to get a bunch more stuff done before the end of the year, just kind of work them in. But right now, like all the stress is done. Like I did my big fair. I fulfilled any orders I have. I just have to deliver one large 36 by 24 cutting board. So I'm kind of focusing on honey-do list items. And Braden, you asked about like, what do you do when you have like tons of to-do list items? It's like, try to focus. And I literally tell Emma, like, if you see me deviate from this task, throw something at me. I literally have started asking her, like, you need to like just grab me by the hair, put me back here. Like I'll start a project and
I do that all the time.
I'm out of tape, so I'll go over here to get more tape. Like, I should really fix the squeaky door. Before I know it, I'm working on a car.
So yeah, the little clamp cleat rack thing. Words are hard. I got deviated from that because Sutton was just hanging the clamps directly right on the French cleat. And they're just like hanging basically on the lip,
Barely hold on.
And he bumped one and they all fell. And I was like, well, we can't have that. So I stopped everything, designed this clamp rack thing. And I spent like an hour on it. Like,
yeah, but it'll optimize.
I didn't need to do that.
But sometimes it's nice to do it, but sometimes you got to stay focused. And Braden, I literally have like my to-do lists that I organized by like the regular to-do list, the shop to-do list, the office one, the outdoor one, the indoor one, and like all the projects that I need to tackle.
All those lists would stress me out themselves.
I know, and I was crossing stuff off, and like I'm good for like a day with each one, and then like, well, I have something else to work on. It just goes off, and I make a new list or whatever.
Just making lists becomes a thing that you need to put on.
Adding the accountability buddy, Emma, has helped a lot. So she just keeps me on track a little bit. I've also started just, now that I relieved some stress with like the fair and the orders, I'm just tackling stuff that like I've been wanting to get done. So I'm tackling some honey-do list things. I'm also working on the Adirondack chairs for next summer, which is going to probably take a couple months. I just got my second set of templates. I used Jackman's templates, the MDF ones that he cuts. I use those for the big chairs. And then I just looked at the plans to print out the templates for the kids' chair. And I went, no, you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm not like, I'm ordering the plans. So, or sorry, the templates. So I ordered them. They came in today. Super fast shipping. Thank you, Jackman. Use code AWP for probably more money. But yeah, so I got the Adirondack chairs that are working as well. I got everything cut out, or the regular size chairs cut down to like smaller sections. I got to cut out all the little pieces, clean them up on the sander, bandsaw, all that fun stuff, and then use this scary bits and bits flush trim bit that I got, because I got one of those and I'm really
One of those big
The
boys.
Yeah,
soda
big boys.
can thick ones.
Yeah, and I'm intimidated to try it, but everyone says it's so smooth and you get like no kickback. But that's what liars usually say right before you get
Liars do say
scared by
that.
a
Can
bit.
confirm.
So we'll see. But I'm excited to work on that stuff, and honestly, the honey-do list stuff. Like I insulated the windows today on the house. It's freezing cold here. I insulated the windows. I bought the insulation 2 years ago, so I finally decided it's time. Let's do it. So.
Winter. It's upon us. And
yeah,
it sucks.
exactly. But that's it. Why don't we jump into some questions? Yay! All right. Well, we should do the
Sean,
thing.
non-believer.
Go, Black Betty. Ram lamb.
All right. So first question's from Alex of the Addams Family.
Hey guys, with the holidays in full swing, obviously spending a lot of time in the shop to get things done can have a toll both physically and mentally. And I'm curious what you guys do to kind of help yourselves push through all of that. Because obviously if you're doing a lot of sanding, cutting, gluing, all that stuff, it can rub your hands raw, give you lots of blisters from either standing, sitting, doing other things, having masks on all the time so that you don't breathe stuff in, but you get sweaty as well as a lot of mask marks and it can be uncomfortable. And of course, the mental toll of trying to churn through so much stuff and trying to keep yourself going. So I'm curious what you guys do to make it through those long days, whether it's something that's more ergonomic or some type of PPE that helps you guys make it through those long days.
Well, I definitely want to hear, Dan, what PPE do you use and how do you stay comfortable all day working in a shop with all the PPE?
PPE. I thought he was just asking how you get through long days, and I was just going to say drugs.
This is a
Gestures
joke
broadly.
for legal purposes.
Oh, is this a joke? I'm sorry. I don't have any tips. Get a Sutton. Sutton helps. PPE. I sadly I'm the worst at PPE. The only PPE I wear are safety glasses because my glasses are on my face and they're break resistant. But I don't know if they're actual safety glasses.
We might get a better answer here if we rephrase it with, Dan, what does Sutton wear for PPE all day?
Sutton wears hearing protection, a dust mask, gloves,
When using
steel-toed boots.
When using appropriate machines, and no
Yes,
gloves
of course.
when using
Of course.
inappropriate
He
machines.
knows. He knows. Yeah, he wears all the PPE. I do not. I'm bad. I have cat hair all over my face. I don't know why.
You wouldn't.
I was
if
petting
you had
my cat.
PPE.
And then I touched my face and now it's got cat hair all over and it's driving me crazy. Malcolm, do you have an answer for this?
Well, so the PPE question, I'm not sure if that was, it's hard to follow the question, honestly, but I think
Yeah, it was
what he's saying is because you're wearing PPE, we're just assuming that we're all wearing PPE all the time.
yeah, that's brave of him to assume that.
But how do you get through long days of the grind, right? And I am in a way different position than you guys are. The holidays do stress me out a little bit because I'm usually making gifts for folks and stuff, but this is supposed to be my hobby, so this is my stress relief from long days at the desk all the time. I will say I usually stack up all the projects at this time of year, so I have to just, make lists and listen to another woodshop podcast and shop sounds and some other sorts of podcasts.
We'll
No worries.
We'll Venmo you for the shout out. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
How much?
$3 hairs.
And what's the shirt you're wearing? Beat Around the Bench. They're okay too. Yeah. And I think Eric Spenceley has some kind
No,
of
he doesn't. He doesn't.
cut it off podcast. I'm not sure exactly.
Cut off.
Yeah.
Cut off Malcolm. Pete?
So listening to audiobooks, podcasts, whatever in the mundane tasks really helps me get through. What about you, Braden?
I'm in a middle place where woodworking is still technically my stress release. My wife gives me a hard time about the need to monetize every hobby that I've ever had. So here I am. I have a TV in my shop that helps me get through most projects, especially when I'm out there like all day. And it's not
fancy.
because I'm listening to what's happening. This is why I feel bad trying to listen to podcasts. I'm not taking any of it in. There's a concept called body doubling that I have to have, and it's why I like talking on the phone so much. It's why I'm probably texting more than I should. It's the closest thing I can get other people to get involved. But body doubling is essentially the idea that you are more productive just by having somebody present, not watching you, not doing the same thing. It's just your mind, because that person is there, your mind is able to focus on your task better. And so anytime that I can, if I can work with Dan, if I can work with Nick, if I can talk to somebody, or like I said, just having the TV on with just voices and just hearing that somebody might be there, I pump through a ton of YouTube videos.
Yeah, those are really good for that, YouTube videos. And also I've noticed that I start up a lot of lives, even though there's no one like usually joining, and you're really good about joining them, Braden. But it's like just knowing that someone might jump on as I'm doing something. I'm not expecting it to be like the most riveting live, but knowing that I'm like talking to folks or there might be people that pass through helps me. So I get that concept.
It's almost like you've got to protect yourself from the shame that somebody might be like, "You're not working. You should be working." That's what's happening in my head. So,
They're judging me.
That's how I get through like long days of work.
What about as far as like keeping comfortable with like anything?
As
Velvet.
usual, Dan and I we're playing from the same playbook. I'm a big fan of safety squints and just doing this, or like just breathing less.
Yeah, I've trained my body to breathe less.
Yeah, there's dust in the air, so I just kind of like hold my breath more. Don't do what I do. It's awful. It's so bad. So,
Oh, you kids.
I don't smoke so that I can breathe in more dust.
Yeah, I don't drink. I don't smoke. Well, I drink very, very limited. I don't do drugs. I don't smoke. Like, I have very few vices, so I can just abuse my body in the shop.
You
And
have
it
vices.
all balances out.
They're sugar based.
I don't have that much sugar.
A sugar-based vice wouldn't be able to hold things very tight.
Yeah,
No.
that's why I drink Diet Pepsi, because
Just
it's sugar.
saying,
So dumb.
it would break.
Anyway,
Pretty sweet though.
Pete, tell us how you're better than us.
All right, so let me tell you why you guys are all wrong. No, I mean, listen, as far as like mentally getting through the like mental comfortable through doing all the mindless stuff, I'm an audiobook addict, like audiobooks. Like I love podcasts too. Anytime I don't have a book, I'm on a podcast. But if I need to get stuff done, I have to put on music. I have to force sometimes I'm like, I don't want to listen to music. Well, I need to get stuff done.
I have a certain playlist I play.
Yeah, like you got it. Yeah, it's my hype music, right?
Mhm.
And that will get me to just work. But if I'm just doing a lot of mindless, repetitive stuff, audiobooks, sometimes I'll put TV on, but it has to be something I've watched before, because otherwise I'm pausing and looking at this TV, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's got to be something that you
Just
don't need to
reruns
focus
of
on. Your
something.
brain can see everything
Yeah,
because
just
you've seen The Office a thousand times.
Exactly. You needed something that you're like, you're almost quoting it, like you don't have to look at it. You see it in your mind's eye, right? The
Yes.
episode.
Yes, I've
Michael's
done that
doing
on
it.
occasion.
Yeah. As far as physical comfort, floor mats, rotating PPE is something that I started doing recently. And what I mean by that is I put on what I need for the job, and sometimes I'll put on just a respirator if I need it.
Visualizing something completely different.
Not a rotating PP at millimeterpeter.com. But essentially, like I'll put a respirator on, but if I'm doing something like more in depth, I'll change it out, because like after a while that respirator might be painful or whatever. So like I'll swap it out, or I'll put on the full face thing. But even that, after a while, like if I don't need to do it for a certain part of the job, I'll actually switch it out to something else just to like have better comfort. But this all started with headphones. I started using the Elegant in-ear headphones, which are honestly I'm starting to really love. Like No shame on IsoTunes, but way better than IsoTunes. So I started using those.
There's that sponsorship.
But and then I'll throw over the over the ears if I'm doing some like heavy duty, like loud, like planing or whatever, if it's really loud. But the Elegant, I find that because I used to change between the IsoTunes and those, the Elegant ones have 3 rib things, so they actually tend to block more noise, I guess.
Is that for your pleasure? Or?
For my pleasure. It feels really good going in. It goes, and when you pull it out, it goes, ooh.
Malcolm's just upset. Look at this. It's like, I can't believe I agreed to that.
It's just right in my ear.
And one thing I won't yield on is any chance I get, I'm putting on glasses. I have glasses on in the shop because
Glasses are cool.
Nerd.
I am just notorious. My eyes just attract crap, and I've been to the eye doctor 3 times now to have
You do
something
look at
washed
Braden
out.
a lot.
Yeah. So I protect
Got
you
him.
all the way.
You attract pieces of crap for breakfast?
Yeah.
Wait, that's not how that goes.
Gross. All right. Next question from Alex of the Adams family.
Hey guys, my son has been asking me about getting a 3D printer for a couple of months now, and I finally bit the bullet and ordered a Bamboo A1. So my question is, obviously with this something that he wants to do, how do I keep him engaged kind of at the appropriate level? Because he's 8 years old, so he's not going to be able to do everything himself. But I don't want to come in and pretty much overtake it from him and just do everything for him so then he doesn't actually learn anything. Because I don't want to end up like Malcolm's kids where they build mangers out of pallets. Because that's just becoming a failure as a parent right there.
Oof.
Damn.
Malcolm, you want to go first?
Yeah, you want to go first on that? Rebuttal?
Alex.
Rebut that?
Alex. First of all, no. What Alex is referring to is me posting a reel about my daughter who came and informed me last year that she built a manger for some kind of event that she was at, and all they had was pallet wood. And that was shocking enough because I knew it was going to be a really crappy manger and would have
Budget
been
friendly.
out of even more crappy wood. But then she told me that she used nails and a hammer and that the wood was splitting the whole time. And my wife was filming this and I
saw
ended
that.
up, like my reaction was genuine, was not rehearsed, was just shock and horror. And I told her that she had brought shame upon the house, our house, for using nails and pallet wood. But her question was for building a manger. I'm like, no, for nails and pallet wood. So thank you, Alex, for the callback. I don't remember the rest of his question, so I'm going to pass it to Braden.
Oh, how to get his son into 3D printing? Because he got him a 3D printer without
Toys.
doing everything. Yeah.
Toys, like motivate him for things that, are already built, and the curiosity will probably take over from there.
Yep.
Braden.
First off, your daughter
dare
built a budget-friendly manger. I'm guessing donated the time and the effort, so there's not a production level budget here. And also,
Dare you?
you need to use nails when you build a manger for the shear strength with baby Jesus's badonkadonk. Like he drop it low, and you need the shear strength. So honestly, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Listen, she's coming home for a month from college, and I'm guaranteeing you that she's going to pay the price with learning all about drills and drill bit accessories when she gets home. So.
Drills and drill bit accessories.
You guys, you guys don't think that there was like a domino handy? They do a little loose
Right.
mortise and tenon manger.
Pallet wood and domino. Yes.
As for the 3D printer, first off, I'm glad we found out that he went with the A1 from Bamboo. I did the same exact thing as what he's describing because Gabby has been getting very, very involved with like making, and she's very interested in what I'm doing out in the shop, especially and 3D printing. Like she loves it. And so I did the same thing. I got a Bamboo. I got the A1 Mini with the AMS. Because I wanted her to have something that she could be involved with. And it's pretty easy with the Bamboo app because you can literally just go in, click, and print stuff that's already made, already pre-sliced, and it'll just send it right to the machine and just go.
This SOB took my answer.
It worked phenomenally. She loves it. The problem is he also insinuates that he's worried that he's just going to take over the 3D printer. The A1 Mini is now...
That's what a bad parent would do.
Dan, that's hurtful because you know what I'm about to say. The A1 Mini is now sitting right next to my P1S and has, up until recently was a production machine. But she still comes downstairs and we'll sneak in, some toys, exactly like what Malcolm said. I've got so many multicolored print. I've probably have 40 pounds of little bamboo poops from color changes with the AMS because Gabby wanted a Garfield figurine or a cat or a dog or something cute that she saw, and it's never one color. It's always multicolored. And my wife has told me at this point, stop printing so many things for her because they're everywhere. I don't care.
Idea.
I'm gonna keep doing it because she's interested in it. So it's a great idea.
One thing I've told my wife to get around some of that is that
You're
it's
the
all
man of the house.
biodegradable. No, PLA is biodegradable. It's plant-based, so we can recycle it.
Oh.
And so most of the time when she's like saying you're printing too many things, I'm like, maybe we can recycle this. It's not a problem.
Yeah. If you recycle stuff, that's good for the earth.
Especially PET G. It's the same stuff as plastic bottles. Just put in and recycle
Right.
it. Yeah.
I'm just burying it.
Yeah.
I'm not burying it, just in case anybody was wondering.
Got a hole in the backyard. I just throw things in there.
Dan, after your deeply offensive comment, I would like to hear what you say.
Stole my answer, you jerk. Yeah, you did the right thing by getting a bamboo because they got that like super handy. Well, I think that's what they even call it, the handy app.
Yeah.
The mobile app is great, and then Maker World, Bamboo owns that, so you can go to Maker World and you can get the same like access, push button, go to printer. Basically a one button push process. It's fantastic. And then keep your kid engaged by having them print toys and fidgets and things that interest them. If you can think of it, the models are already out there. I mean, I haven't found anything that I wanted to print that wasn't already modeled out there somewhere. So it's fun. It's a fun little hobby. What else was I going to say? I was going to say something. Oh yeah, completely off topic because you mentioned poop.
Oh my!
All right. All right.
We're talking about Ryobi tools now.
I 3D printed a poop chute for my P1P because I'm cheap and I didn't buy the P1S. What if instead of a poop chute, I 3D print a miniature litter box for it? Have a litter box for my 3D print poop. Is that a thing? Is that out there?
That idea is the cat's meow.
That is technically an idea, yes.
Yeah. Actually, I actually do have an idea for something that I want that is not available anywhere. So I need to talk to somebody who can 3D model for me and also understand my way of thinking. So
that might be a multi-man job.
Yeah. It's gonna be, Pete, you want to weigh in on this?
We need a Dan's later.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. Just get them involved. Have them select some files, print them, like show him through have him go through the process, and then once he hits puberty, just print boobs. That's it. But
wait, you could do that.
Boys are simple creatures.
Wait, what? Back up.
All right, next questions from.
Hold on, I'm looking right now.
Just stop it.
Where do I find that? Thingiverse?
Just go to boobs.com.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow,
All right, next.
Don't do that.
No, it's wicked.com.
No, don't do that either.
All right, next question. I think this is from Nick.
Hey, this is Nick at Design is Blank. My question is for all of you, but what is the most important lesson that you've learned as a result of failure? Could be specific to woodworking, content creation, or just general business stuff. I'd love to hear from all of you, but especially what Malcolm has to say, knowing how incredibly experienced he is with failure.
Oof.
By the way, the beef's still cooking, Malcolm. Bye.
Oh, he
Yeah.
told you. We were not confused at all. All right, so
Okay.
what say you, Malcolm?
I feel like I come on as a guest, you invite me into your home, and people attack me. But Nick
Welcome to our world.
is a friend of mine, and we have this fake beef. So it's another episode of trolling, I guess you could say.
Is
But-
he aware that you're friends?
Well, I mean, friend-ish. Like if you're a friend, you're getting trolled. So yeah, exactly. So I don't remember his question past, I'm experienced with failure.
What's the
Can
biggest
anyone
lesson
remind
you
me?
learned from failure? Because
Oh,
they're
I've
so
had a
familiar
lot of
with it.
failure. Yeah, lots of failure. I think nothing happens without failure. Like that is trial and error. You have to just every time that you fail, it's a lesson that you get back up from, and you continue. I mean, everything we do all the time results in failure because every failure is going to lead to a win eventually. That's just kind of the way I look at it. I don't mean to get too inspirational with it, but also, Nick, I can't say anything because it's a clean podcast, but I'll get with you later on this one.
He means to
my.
say you.
That's what I wish I had the button.
Yeah, sorry.
Right. All right, Braden, you want to talk to Nick?
Yeah, Braden, you're intimately familiar with failure.
Oh, I'm very good at failing.
Preach, baby, preach.
I fail once a day. I ruined material yesterday. I have a lot of cabinet parts that don't actually fit together because I don't know how to measure. I don't know. The easy part here is you can't worry too much about failing, especially in this kind of hobby. I mean, we're making you can always get more material. For the most part, it's pretty easy to get more material. We're not working with vibranium.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah. So just try. I mean, what's the worst that happens? Wood literally grows on trees. So do that. And then in terms of business, this may not be something that everybody agrees with, but one thing that I have learned is I would always rather overcharge than undercharge. I'd rather lose out on jobs because I'm valuing my time and my expertise too high than to value it too low, take a job that's going to either cost me money or that I'm going to hate doing and not feel like it's worth it. So don't ever undervalue your worth, your time, your expertise, your tools just to get a job. You're not trying to compete with Temu. You're not trying to compete with Walmart. You're competing with other artists. So
They're going
that's
down.
my business. That's my business fact. Pete?
I am intimately familiar with failure and with being overwhelmed, with mental breakdowns, with wanting to just hold my face in my hands and cry because being so overwhelmed. And I often have to remind myself, which is something that took me way too many years, meaning within the last 2 years, I realized that, and I'll censor this part. Actually, I won't. None of this shit matters. None of this shit matters. We're on a blue pebble hurtling through space. There's rocks flying past us. None of this matters. No mistake you've made in your life has been so bad that it couldn't be undone. If you drop something on a almost finished table, there's nothing you can do about it. All right. You crack the top of that table. It's been finished. It was ready for delivery. You call that customer, say, hey, we had an accident. I'm so sorry. Yeah, it happened. It just, you know what? It was out of my control. We're going to fix it. That's it. You cry about it a little bit, or you're behind on a project, or I just had a brand reach out to me hey, where are we at with this late content that you owe us from last year? Well, content's still happening. We just haven't worked on this project. And it was I've been dreading sending this email back. I have it written up, but basically I just wrote hey, thank you for your patience. We had a crazy year here. We had a lot of great stuff happen and things got pushed back, and we didn't forget about you. We're going to do it, and my first gut reaction was just a gut feeling of man, I effed up. I'm so embarrassed. How could I do this? It's a it's a small content deal worth a couple $100. Even if I completely ignored it, like at the end of the day, like no one's really gonna be hurt here, but like we're gonna make it right. And oftentimes we can make stuff right. And it's okay. It's okay to F up. Stuff's gonna go wrong. And just take a deep breath, take a day, and then move on. Right? That's how Dan lives day by day. Right, Dan?
That is right.
Yeah.
What these gentlemen have said is mostly correct.
Oh. Can't wait to hear this.
Directionally,
Mostly correct.
That was me buckling up.
The biggest thing that I've learned from mistakes is that I don't make mistakes.
Get out of here.
No,
I'm gonna mute
let me
it.
finish. Let me finish. I don't make mistakes. I learn lessons. Sometimes those lessons are expensive.
When did Dan get so deep?
You don't make mistakes. You just learn lessons. That's it.
Like
Plain
that.
and simple. And like Pete and Braden, and I think Malcolm even said it, none of this is life and death.
Yeah.
Everything is fixable.
There's more wood out there.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Next.
I like to
Let's
say
go.
that pain is an excellent teacher. Probably
Indeed.
the best way to sum that up.
All of the cuts and scars on my hand agree.
All the scars. Okay.
The scars remind us. Never mind.
Speaking of scars, Randy from Very Expensive Connecticut.
Good evening, guys. It's Randy from Connecticut. I have 2 questions today. Question 1, purchasing plans from somebody, building the product, and selling it. Do you give them credit that it's not your design and it was theirs? Or do you just say nothing like it was your design? Question 2, do you purchase plans, modify the design that fits better for you, modify the plans, and resell the plans? Is that the right thing to do? I have no interest in doing plans. I don't have the patience for it. But I know some of the guys on We Built This Thing sell their plans, and I was just genuinely curious. Is that morally okay? Have a good night. Bye.
I think both of those are acceptable in most situations. And also, I hope your gastrointestinal issues are resolved, Randy. But if you buy plans from someone, they're plans to build something. And if you build multiples of it and you sell it, like I have tons of plans.
Physical
that I bought,
item.
Physical
Selling the physical item, right?
You built that. We're not talking about like 3D printed file. We're talking about like I got plans from Jackman. I built the chairs. I'm going to build the chairs and I'm going to sell the chairs. I think that's totally fine. I've bought plans from people before. I gotten them from Woodsmith Magazine.
I think what he's asking though is, do you need to give Jackman credit every time you sell those physical items? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think it's more, we're more like, I should like, because he's in the content whatever. But like, if you just bought it from Joe Schmo on Etsy, like that wouldn't matter. You know, in most cases, if you're buying a file from someone on Etsy as well, like for a 3D printed item or CNC, you don't need to give them credit in any way. Sometimes when it's a free file on like, Thingiverse or whatever, like they'll ask for attribution. Like you can sell it, just because say file by blah, blah, blah. But like, just, that's why I said
It's a
in most cases
courtesy
it's
thing.
fine. As far as like purchase a plan, the second you modify plans, they're your plans. And I'm saying as fully as someone that like that, like if I make something and someone modifies it, I can't get upset with them if they modified it to their liking and sold their own version. I gave them all the tools to do it. I have no way to enforce it. And if I get mad about it, that's on me. And it sucks. But
I have a clarifying question. So CNC file, something from Hamilton, whiskey smoker from Hamilton.
Yep.
Take that, modify it. You're okay with selling that file, that modified file?
I wouldn't in most cases, but that's a personal thing. But I've had it done to me, and I've seen other people do it, and it's a gray enough area where you're legally, you're fine. It's just like where you feel morally. Like that's kind of where it's at.
That's exactly what Randy's asking, though. How do you feel about it morally?
And I think
he even said that.
The big thing is here, if these are plans for a chair, or a table or a cabinet. I feel like we're a lot more loosey-goosey about it. Like if we change the plans, like completely make our own plans off of it, right? Not just like change the font or like not the font, but like the logo and something. That's effed up. That you're stealing somebody's work. If you like, I got Jackman's plans and I like redid them and did my own whatever. I did a variation of this chair, and when you know this one has a cooler built into it, or whatever. Here are my plans. I feel kind of crappy about it, but technically, like I did the work. I used whatever I had at my disposal to make a plan of my own. It's a gray area. I wouldn't, but technically you're fine. Like there's no way to enforce it. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Morally,
It's,
I think it's kind of a yucky area morally. I mean, we're all in this community, and it's like a close knit community. We've talked about that before. Like, I'd feel like I'm stealing from a friend. However,
I think the first one's easier to swallow than the second one.
Absolutely, the first one's easier to swallow. You're not really changing anything. You're not keeping money out of somebody's pocket.
Yeah.
I will say I kind of had this situation happen to me. Not where I designed something and somebody took my file and changed it and then resold it. I actually bought one of the first CCIs that I ever made for myself before I started selling them. I bought a zero clearance insert file off of Etsy from somebody, I can't even remember who, for my saw stop, because I was like, oh, I got a CNC, I can make my own. So that's what I did. And then I had a bunch of people asking me if they could buy the physical item from me. So I was like, yes, why not? So I put them on my Etsy listing and people bought them. So then I posted the SawStop inserts in the SawStop Facebook group, and the guy that I bought the file from had a tissy fit that I was using his file to sell a physical item. So I was like, okay, buddy, you want to be a dick? Be a dick. So I modified his file like entirely and made it my own, and then started selling it just out of spite. I was like, his is $7, mine's $6. And that was the only time I've ever done that.
And the ZCI monster was born.
It was. It was. It's kind of where it started. Don't push me. But yeah, it can be a morally gray area. I mean, I would never take one of Pete's files and modify it and resell it because he's a friend of mine and I know him. But man, yeah, I think legally, I don't know if it's a gray area or not. I don't think I have the authority to say one. I mean,
legally, in most cases, legally, we have none of us are copywriting these things. They're not patented or whatever. Like,
well, I know with photos and like
it's a crappy thing to do. Like that's,
I don't know how copyright works with like digital files and stuff, but I do know with photos and video, as soon as you capture that with your camera, it's automatically yours. You own the copyright to it. Now you can file a copyright for it, but it's not necessary as long as you hold the raws, the digital negatives. I think
that industry has been so much better established with the laws.
Yes,
where like files are.
I know how that works. I don't know how that would work with digital file creation. So I don't know. Malcolm, have you weighed in on this?
No, I haven't. I don't really have a lot to say on it because I don't sell these products, but I guess just from an ethical or moral standpoint, like I have no problem with buying something, making the physical product and selling it. If in 3D printing, that's a lot different, but it really just depends on if they've clearly stated that you can do that. But in general, if I buy an SVG or some other kind of design off of Etsy, I pay for the money, then I can throw it into my laser or my actual 3D printer and make a physical product. I don't have a problem selling that unless they specifically said don't do that. But I wouldn't take someone else's design and make a plan out of it. I wouldn't feel right about trying to sell that. It's also very small money, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Like to do that kind of a thing. So it's just not something I would do.
Right on.
I
Good
did
answers.
I did the one out of spite.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
The monster was born. Yeah, I mean, I think the first one's pretty cut and dry. You know, if you're purchasing something, you know, you're purchasing the ability to create that object. What you do after that isn't covered by that sale. So I'm selling, you know, I'm essentially selling the material turned into that product.
Yeah, absolutely.
Material and your time.
Yeah. So you're, you know, that I think that one's pretty cut and dry. You know, we've all kind of we're on the same page with that one. The file modifying one, I agree that it's a pretty gray area. And in terms of like enforcing any of this, nobody can enforce any of this because it's so gray. And like Malcolm said, the money that we're talking about here, it's not even worth it, other than just the irritation. But what I have done in the past is I've modified files or, you know, modified designs. You know, the whiskey smoker is one of them. I made my 2-piece whiskey smoker based off of the idea of Hamilton's whiskey smoker. You know, it's a pretty straightforward design, but what makes me feel okay about redesigning other plans or other files, things like that, I take them from square one and I rebuild them. And I'm you know, I'm very obviously
and that's
inspired.
where you get inspired by, but you did your own file.
Yep. So I'm not taking the file and like, you know, moving a couple nodes and then selling it as mine. I'm not.
Yeah, that's slimy.
Yeah. But I think that it's acceptable to take something, because end of the day, none of us are creating a completely original product. These are all just, you know, nothing is new under the sun. We're modifying all of these things to do new things and do different things. They're all modifications of other things. So at that point, if you feel good that you created the product that you're selling, go for it. You know, it's a pretty gray area, but if you're doing the work to create it, go for it. You're fine.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if I can't speak for Malcolm. I don't know if you sell files or not, but I know that Pete, Braden, and I do.
Yeah.
And I don't have the time or the energy to worry about policing what people are doing with my files after they buy them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not scouring Etsy or anywhere else, any other sort of marketplace, and seeing if
our files are probably laundered like 20 different times.
I don't care.
A lot of our products and our files too, they're parts. Like, we're expecting them to be created and reproduced and modified for use. I mean, shoot, I sell one of those cutting board display trays that you were talking about, the 5-stand one. Yeah. I created one from scratch, like it's a totally made design, but somebody takes that and expands it out to a 6-1, or they shorten it or do whatever. Great. End of the day, a lot of those files are created just to save other people time, and that's where the value is, and that's why they buy the file. It's just to save time. So
yeah, right on. Good answers. Yeah. All right, we got 2 more questions. Let's fly through these because we're approaching 2 hours here. Alex Duffy called in.
Hey guys, it's Alex from Duffy Woodcraft. I have 2 questions for Malcolm. First of all, Malcolm, if you had to pick only side grain or in grain cutting boards to make for the rest of your life, what would you make? And secondly, did you enjoy working with Aubrey Plaza on Parks and Rec? Thanks, guys.
Well,
there you go.
Malcolm.
Okay. Side grain. Because edge grain. I've never heard it called side grain. Thanks, Alex, for trapping me into that vocabulary. Edge grain only because I don't want to mess with end grain. Like I've done it before and it's a lot of work, and I don't have a drum sander, so I'm not interested in that. Just the way that I make cutting boards, it's scrap. I use exclusively danscraps.com scrap, and just get rid of that stuff, and it really helps out people. Like, I don't sell the cutting boards, I give them away. They make great gifts for me, so that's it. And secondly, Alex, I'm glad you brought this up because I have been mistaken for Nick Offerman many, many times at every woodworking event that I go to. And I've heard that joke many times. It doesn't bother me. I actually kind of, for those of you that aren't watching the YouTube video, I look like a little bit of like a clone hybrid of
A
Rainn
Temu
Wilson
Nick Offerman.
Temu Nick
and
Offerman.
Nick Offerman. So a little bit of Dwight, a little bit of Ron Swanson. So
Yes.
I think of it as a discount Ron Swanson situation. That's usually how I introduce myself when someone says, hey Nick, are you related to Nick? And I'm like, no, I'm Temu Ron or
It's like a TikTok shop Dwight.
I've
Dwight
always
Swanson.
found myself highly attracted to you, and it all makes sense now.
No, does it? Yeah. So I have a funny story about this. I know we're over time, but I got to tell the story.
Can you get real close to the mic and talk to me?
I can.
About this?
You got it, brother. So at Workbench Con this last year, James DiResta, if you don't know him that well, he's a famous woodfluencer and other influencers. He came up to me at Workbench Con in the lobby bar and was like, "Hey, good to see you again. How often do you get mistaken for Nick?" And I'm like, "All the time. Like every time I go to any kind of woodworking thing." He's like, "That's hilarious." And next thing I know, he's taking a selfie with me. Like as he's saying, "That's hilarious," he's like, click. And then he's texting. And I
Nick.
found out he's texting Nick. And
Yeah.
he's like, "Is this you?" And that poor man got harassed by Jimmy the rest of the conference. Jimmy was taking pictures of me. At one point, he was eating at the same breakfast table as me and was taking a video of me. And I look over and Jimmy starts cracking up because I give him this kind of mean side eye, like, "What the hell are you doing?" And it turns out he's still, like, all the entire event texting Nick, are you sure this isn't you?" So, Mr. Offerman, I know you won't listen to this, but I'm really sorry for Mr. DiResta.
You know you made it when you're getting trolled by DiResta. Like, Malcolm, you made it.
It sounds like
He's using
DiResta was
me.
trolling
Yeah, he's-
Nick.
Yeah, trolling
the
Nick Offerman
object.
But
using
still.
me. Right. Discount Ron Swanson.
Malcolm is the domino, and Ron Swanson or Nick Offerman is the Adirondack chair,
Absolutely.
and
So
Jimmy,
thank you, Jimmy.
is the craftsman.
And I'm
also-
sorry, Nick.
How is it working with Aubrey Plaza?
I imagine it's awesome. I love her, but I never worked with her.
Right.
I have an idea. So Braden always puts out promo reels on
He
our
definitely
Instagram
puts out. Yep.
for whenever we have a guest on, and the one he put out for Malcolm was Nick Offerman, and then he put Malcolm's face over it. So if we ever have Nick Offerman on,
When
we
when
have
we
to
have
do Malcolm and then put Nick Offerman's face over Malcolm.
That
Okay,
would
remember
be
that, Braden.
that would be
Hopefully he's forgotten the whole incident, but
We'll
but
remind
it
him.
is also in his phone and from text messages from Jimmy, so maybe not.
We shall find out.
You know, we've never asked, but I bet you like it might. I'm kind of expecting that it might be like remarkably easy to get him on if we just asked, but we're all shy and
Talk to Jimmy.
Yeah.
He might be able to get you on.
Yeah, I'm not shy. I will take on this gauntlet.
Get on it, Braden.
get on it. All right, let's get to the last one. Last questions from Greg D'Ambrosio, and it's an AI voice.
Hey guys, I have 2 questions for you this week. 1. Do you have a recommendation on where to source very unique woods online? As an example, I'm looking to buy 10 board feet of willow so that I can make a gift for my wife for our 9th wedding anniversary. After a lot of Googling, I've had little luck on finding this type of wood. I've also had little luck from the few local hardwood stores nearby. I'm curious if you have any recommendations on where to source one-off woods like this. 2.
I'm actually going to pause it. Let's answer this first one. I don't have any experience of buying wood online. I hear a lot of good things. Who made a video? Oh, it was Jason Hibbs. Jason Hibbs did a video on buying wood online. It was really good, I think. It was just for like white oak, but I'm assuming most of these places do stock exotics as well. Check that out. Don't be afraid to drive a little bit, like an hour or two, to a good lumber yard that has a good selection. I have some good selection in my area, so I've never bought online, but it's pricey. It's pricey, but it's probably cheaper than buying online.
Well, Pete, it sounds like he's talking about really exotic, like not stuff that you would find at your normal, like.
No, my lumber yard they're everything.
So like
I can get ePay there. Yeah,
okay.
they're
For the
stocked with
record,
exotics.
willow is not exotic. It is a domestic.
Yeah, willow
hardwood.
is not something I've heard.
But unique. So not
Exotic,
necessarily. He didn't say
domestic.
exotics. I think he said very unique woods.
I'd love to know because I wanted to find a source for holly, and haven't really found that before.
Have you
She
tried?
moved to the other branch from Scranton. Thanks.
I'm glad we were all thinking it. I'm glad we were all thinking it.
I know I got to hook up for Burl, Worldwide Burl, that account. I've got Burl from them.
Wide.
Wide. Anyone else? Have you guys bought online?
Yeah, I when I can't get zebra wood or any other exotics from Liberty, I'll go to bellforest.com.
Okay, yeah.
I bought from there. Prices aren't terrible, and if you don't need a whole lot, I mean, it's an easier pill to swallow than if you need a couple hundred board feet. So I would check with them. That's the only place that I went through. I know other people use like woodworkersource.com.
Yeah.
But I've had good luck with Bell Forest, I think.
I mean, Rockler and Woodcraft do technically stock a lot of these as well, but you're gonna pay.
I found out that our local Woodcraft gets all of their lumber from Liberty Hardwood.
They do.
They do. Yeah. No, that's not a
Absolutely,
joke.
they do.
I found that out.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I was going to buy from either of those, I'd want to do it in the store so that I could look at it.
Oh, yeah.
It's
don't trust them to ship it to me.
bellforestproducts.com.
Just go to thickhardwood.com. I've never bought anything online, but I am going to just point out you're not alone. 7 years ago on the woodworking subreddit, can you purchase willow tree wood anywhere? And it's basically a thread of a bunch of people having no idea where to find willow wood.
Let me tell you a little something.
Ooh,
This may or may not be helpful to you.
Sutton.
Willow looks like a lot of other woods. So do a Google search for willow. I think, frankly, it looks like a little bit like cypress. I think it looks a little bit like olive wood. So if you can find something that's close,
Yeah, that's a good point.
and then pawn it off as willow, that'll work.
Have you tried white oak?
There's always stain.
Don't stain.
White oak with walnut stain?
But I will still say, look at Jason's video, and that's going to be probably a good resource for you. That's a more recent one, at least.
Is there a back half to that question?
There is a second half. Number 2.
You mentioned a few episodes ago that Oliver Machinery was coming out with a 15-inch benchtop planer, a very unique and cool tool. I was searching around Grizzly last night. I stumbled across a similar 15-inch benchtop planer, model G0815. I was curious if you've ever seen this before or heard feedback on the planer. It's normally prices under $1,600 and seems like an awesome option for a benchtop planer. Greg D'Ambrosio, GTD Woodworks.
So we looked at this planer, and on Grizzly's site right now, it's $12.57. It comes with no stand,
going on.
no in-feed, no out-feed table. I don't think it comes with a stand. Some of the photos have a stand, but most don't. But like for $1,200, a 20, it's a 3 horsepower, 220, 15-inch straight knife.
Straight knives. I think you can
Straight
get
knives.
it with a helical head too.
You can. The helical head
Obviously,
is
it'll be more.
$23.95, and that's like a full like standing body one with wings and everything. So you are getting a lot more for that. But I gotta say, for like a 15-inch planer, $1,200 ain't bad.
I was actually looking at that because I bought a Grizzly planer, obviously. And I was looking at that one, and the only reason I didn't go with something like that is because I was just like, you know what? One of these days I'm going to get a bigger, better shop, and I'm going to want something bigger and better. So why not just go big now?
You got the 20 with the spiral, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, it's not a bad price. I haven't
heard anybody talk good or bad about that one though. So
it's got really.
I don't
good
know
reviews,
anybody.
actually.
I don't know anybody who has that model.
The only thing about Grizzly products that I'm not like a huge fan of. And I just looked, this model doesn't have this problem, but Grizzly seems to like to make the feed part of the machine the part that moves up and down as opposed to the cutter head.
Yeah.
Which again, not a planer, but when I had my drum sander from Grizzly and it did that exact same thing, it was a real pain in the ass to dial in. I don't know if it was just that one machine, but it kind of shied me away from the feed table moving up and down. But that one doesn't. It's the cutter head that moves up.
I think
and down.
that's a pretty standard way of operating for the bigger planers, where the feed table goes up and down and the cutter head stays stationary.
Interesting.
I think.
Well, I'm not a big
somebody can
deal,
correct me if
so-
I'm wrong.
Well, no, the 20-inch, the 20-inch, the body stays. Oh no, it's different models. So some of them are the base will move, some the head will move.
Yeah, it's real cool.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's not super consistent.
it is not. And some have this one also. The one thing about this one that's a little weird, the motor is above it, which means you don't have that like, let me throw this board on top of my machine. You know, a lot of the machines have like a roller or some kind of like a skid plate on top where you can just put a piece of wood and then pass it through to somebody that's feeding it in. This doesn't have that. So listen, for the cost, I think that's pretty good. And if it comes with a base and everything and an in-feed,
All
out-feed,
about that base.
yeah, and like see how much a cutter head. Maybe swapping out the cutter head is an option. Maybe Bird or like that's Bird is a company, right? That makes
Yeah,
a Shilix.
BYRD.
Yeah, Andy Bird. Maybe they make a Shilix head for it. Maybe you can get the in-feed out-feed tables real cheap. Like maybe you're still under $2,000 for this 15-inch planer with a helical head, whereas one from the factory would cost $2,500. So-
One thing I love about like bouncing through Grizzly's website is it makes no sense sometimes. The 15-inch straight planer that we're talking about is like further down the line, which is generally more expensive. Two in front of it, where I would think that the cheaper ones or the smaller ones are, is the $28,000 16-inch Extreme Series double-sided commercial planer.
There you go.
You
The fact that
double-sided.
these are even in the same like web page is just bananas to me.
Just one wrong click away from adding the wrong things to your yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm going back to the Willow thing. I'm looking at more
It's like a
pictures. and
bloodhound. He's got the
it's-
scent.
It's really giving me like birch vibes.
Ooh,
And birch is like really easy to find. So
Baltic even.
it's giving me birch / poplar.
Birch eye poplar. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all. That's all I gotta say. Once I get fixated on something, I gotta
No, I hear
figure
you.
it out.
So
Gotta noodle it.
I will say this. So Greg, I don't think that's a bad option for a planer for the cost, because honestly, I think you're going to get a lot of use out of it, and it's going to have good resale value if you ever go bigger. But it's also 15-inch planer is awesome. A 220 15-inch planer, that could last you for forever. You might not need to upgrade. And honestly, straight knives, I know they get a bad rap, but like, it's a powerful machine. You're gonna like just get new knives.
You keep the knives sharp. Yeah, they'll do you good. I mean, the straight knives that come on the DeWalt 735 are actually pretty damn good.
That's what I use on mine.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say I get a finish. You know, I have a chip in one of them, so I get a little line sometimes. but
they're typically louder. That's all.
yeah,
Just don't plane an entire quarter-inch off at a time.
You don't
You'll
do
be
that.
fine.
Do not do
yeah,
that.
Don't do
You'll be
that.
fine.
that's about it. But that's all of our questions, guys.
Ooh,
Yay! Yeah, long one. Thank you, Malcolm, the voice of AWP, for joining us. The man, the legend himself has joined us. Thank you for your inspirational words to all of our members in a maker community that might not want to have a business. They might just want to have a business to have fun instead of just slave away with the dusty shop like we do.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course, and we appreciate you doing all the intros. We got to do some new. We should do a holiday one, some remixes.
Yes.
Call in
And some
favors.
outros. We need more
Oh,
outros.
we need more outros
Ooh, in mid-tros.
and mid-tros, just mid rolls.
Yeah.
Casper mattresses are okay. Well, speaking of Casper mattresses, I want to shout out our sponsor, Bill Burkle with WTB Woodworking. Go check him out. Make sure to enter that giveaway. If you want to waste your giveaway, you can also just enter for Braden. Like he's really trying to win that bet. Don't do that. Go to enter that. And to all of our patrons, make sure to stay tuned for the information about the giveaway of the 3D printer that we're going to be doing. So that's going to be dropping within the next couple weeks. So you guys will get the info. And I think that's it. Dan, got anything else to say?
Well, if you're interested in the 3D printer, you can go over to patreon.com/anotherwoodshop podcast and get signed up over there. And keep in mind, your tier rank will probably come into play on how many entries you can get into the 3D printer giveaway.
We do have favorite children.
Yep. And it's the paid patrons.
It will be a random pick. It will be a random pick.
And it's paid levels only. We want to just give something back to the people that actually support us. Well, no, everyone supports us, but the people that financially support us and keep our lights on.
Monetarily.
Yeah, we appreciate all of you guys. And then we honestly are probably going to schedule keep an eye out for like our quarterly, as we call it. That's just a name. Quarterly call that we'll be doing is probably due in January. So we'll probably do one before Workbench Con if we can get it in.
Right on.
All right. Well,
all right.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Oh, you're not thanking me. Oh, okay.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for listening to me, Dan.
Welcome.
Thanks, Malcolm. Love you. Bye.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you long time.